Imagine a world where our own bodies are, well, even better equipped to fight off cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Scientists have just engineered a new kind of antibody, sort of a super strong version of our natural defenders, and honestly, it sounds pretty groundbreaking.
It really is fascinating stuff. And we're not talking about some, completely alien drug here. It's more like a really clever upgrade to something our immune system already uses.
Exactly. So this deep dive, it's all about these newly souped up antibodies.
Right.
We've got some great material excerpts from the actual research paper, eingefügter text, and also some really helpful context from the University of Southampton and the folks at Cancer Research UK.
Yeah, and our mission today really is to get under the hood, understand how these re-engineered antibodies actually work, and maybe more importantly, figure out why this specific research is causing such a buzz in, the fight against cancer.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. Antibodies. We hear that word maybe when we get sick, but what's their actual, day job inside us?
Think of them as your body's internal security force. They're constantly patrolling, looking for troubled bacteria, viruses, anything foreign.
Mm-hmm.
And they have this distinctive Y shape. The tips of that Y are super specific. They're designed to latch onto unique markers, antigens, on the surface of these invaders.
Right.
And critically, cancer cells often have their own unique markers that these antibodies can potentially recognize and bind to.
So the antibody, it grabs onto the invader, the cancer cell, but how does that stop it? What happens next?
Well, that binding itself is key. Sometimes it can directly block the invader from doing harm, but often, maybe more often, it acts like a big flashing neon sign.
Right.
It signals to the rest of the immune system, hey, problem over here, and that call brings in the cavalry other immune cells that actually destroy whatever's been tagged, be it a virus or, in this case, a cancer cell.
Okay, so the scientists down at the University of Southampton, they looked at this whole process and basically asked, how can we make that initial alarm bell even louder, even more effective, specifically against cancer?
Precisely. And their big idea, the core innovation, which honestly might sound a bit minor at first, was all about tweaking the antibody's physical structure, specifically its rigidity.
Rigidity? You mean how stiff it is? That doesn't immediately jump out as, the secret sauce.
I know, it sounds subtle. But this is where it gets really, really interesting. That small change, making it stiffer, has this surprisingly big knock-on effect on how strongly the immune system gets activated.
Huh.
Professor Mark Cragg, one of the researchers, put it nicely. He said, the whole concept of boosting the immune system, immunostimulation, is super exciting for cancer treatment.
Yeah.
And their work confirmed that even these, quote, subtle increases in the rigidity of antibodies significantly stimulates immune activity. And importantly, that holds true across different types of antibodies targeting different things.
Wow, okay. That is promising. A little extra stiffness amps up the whole response.
Yeah.
So how did they do it? How do you make an antibody stiffer? Did they, send them to a tiny molecular boot camp?
Not quite. Remember that Y shape, the two arms of the Y? They're naturally linked by these little molecular connections called disulfide bonds.
Okay, yeah.
What the Southampton team did, essentially, was add extra disulfide bonds between those arms. Imagine building a bridge and adding more support beams to make it much more solid, less likely to wobble.
Okay. So more bonds mean the arms are held more firmly, less floppy. I can picture that. But the million-dollar question is why? Why does being less floppy make them better at kicking the immune system into gear?
Right, and this is the really clever part that co-author Isabel Elliott explained. She highlighted that an antibody's shape and its flexibility are fundamental to how it works.
Makes sense.
These more rigid antibodies, they're just much better at activating immune cells because they can physically hold key molecules on the surface of those immune cells closer together.
Closer together. So it's like they're forcing a tighter handshake between the antibody and the immune cell.
Exactly like that. By maintaining that close, stable contact, they trigger a much stronger go signal inside the immune cell. Think of it like pushing a button. A floppy finger might just brush it, but a firm, rigid finger pushes it properly and activates the machine.
Okay.
In this case, that pushing leads to better clustering of receptor proteins on immune cells, like T cells or NK cells, the real killers, which is what tells them to attack.
Wow. So the immune cells have this activation trigger, and the rigid antibodies are just much better at pulling it, basically. And I think I read they used a supercomputer. That sounds pretty high-tech.
Oh, absolutely essential. Dr. Ivo Tooze mentioned this. They used a supercomputer to visualize the antibody structure right down to the level of individual atoms.
Incredible.
This let them figure out precisely the best spots to add those extra disulfide bonds for maximum effect. It wasn't guesswork, it was very targeted engineering.
Right.
And what's really exciting, he noted, is that this whole principle, controlling activity through rigidity, probably applies to other similar molecules on immune cells too. It might be a whole new way to kind of dial immune responses up or down.
So this isn't just a one-trick pony for this specific antibody type. It could be a whole new design philosophy for immunotherapy. Now, stepping back a bit, we're talking about boosting the immune system. That's Immunotherapy 101, right?
Absolutely. Immunotherapy, at its heart, is all about empowering your own immune system to fight cancer. Instead of just, poisoning the cancer cells with chemo, you're trying to get the body's natural defenses to recognize and destroy them.
Yeah.
And this new work with rigid antibodies fits perfectly into that whole approach. It's another tool in the immunotherapy toolbox, potentially a very powerful one.
In Cancer Research UK, they seem pretty excited too.
Very much so. Dr. Ian Folks from CRUK really stressed that getting a better handle on how to switch on our immune systems effectively is just fundamental if we want immunotherapy to work better for more patients.
Makes sense.
And he also pointed out how crucial these cutting-edge technologies are for actually engineering these super strong antibodies. It really shows how fast things are moving.
It's amazing. This was published so recently, April 12, 2025, in Nature Communications, and Cancer Research UK funded it. It really does take a village, doesn't it, for this kind of science?
It certainly does. And the key thing for you, the listener, to take away is this. Scientists have found a way to basically supercharge antibodies by making them stiffer. Early lab tests show this makes the immune system respond much more strongly against cancer. It's like finding the volume knob for our natural defenses and turning it up. It's still early days, of course, but it points towards a potentially much more potent way to do immunotherapy.
So summing up then, this research feels like a really significant step for cancer immunotherapy. By kind of cleverly tinkering with the physical shape of antibodies, just making them more rigid, scientists have potentially unlocked a way to get a much stronger immune attack against cancer cells.
Yeah, and what I find really compelling is that the answer wasn't some brand new molecule, but a smarter way to use the biological tools we already have, refining and enhancing.
This whole deep dive, it really gets you thinking, doesn't it? I mean, if this breakthrough came from focusing on the physical structure, the rigidity of these tiny proteins, just makes you wonder what other, maybe unexpected physical properties in our bodies could we learn to manipulate, to, boost our defenses against disease in ways we haven't even thought of yet.
That is a fantastic question, a really profound thought to end on. Because as we get better and better at understanding the sheer complexity, the intricate mechanics of the human body, the potential for these kinds of innovative, targeted therapies just keeps expanding.
Yeah.
The progress in cancer research right now is it's genuinely inspiring. And this rigid antibody work, it's a really exciting glimpse into a future where treatments might be more effective and maybe even kinder to the patient, too.